Hey guys, Blockchain here with another bi-weekly crypto recap. Today is April 17th, I'm recording this on the 16th, but we'll be releasing it on the 17th. And for the most part, things have been looking pretty good. We had a slight dip in the market today. As you can see, we went from around 8,300, 8,400 for Bitcoin down to around 8,000. Now that's not a huge deal if you've been in these crypto markets for any amount of time. A $400 drop is almost nothing across the board. I think we've lost maybe like $5-10 billion in market cap, so really not that bad. And this is to take into consideration about a week ago where we had this insane 1 hour run up to $8,000. So there's a lot of talk about, is the bull market coming back? What does this mean? And I'm going to stick to what I've been saying, which is although I personally think that the bull market is back, to definitively say is definitely impossible, but also we really need to wait some more. And at the very least, Bitcoin is in a good position just because, like I said, we didn't cross that line of 6,400 where it was the last support line the last time we had a huge crash. And now we're back up to 8,000. Even if it dips below, it can still reasonably be called sideways movement. So I think that the chances of a straight plunge down below 6,000 is very unlikely. And worst case, we're probably just going to see more and more sideways movement. So yeah, overall, it's been a pretty good couple, several days since my last video. If you are invested in the cryptocurrency markets, you are probably pretty happy with the gains that you've gotten. If you've been hodling them since January, of course, we're not nearly close to those levels yet, but baby steps here. So let's take a look at the market in general. And so the market cap went from around, let's see here, in the past 3 days, the market cap, it really only dipped from around 338 billion down to a low of around 322. So $15 billion. That's almost nothing compared to look at these charts. Look how volatile it is, and especially right here. Look how much market cap we gained. About 30 billion. And then we went all the way up and got about 50, 60 billion. This is all just to say, these are normal market fluctuations. Really, nothing should be gleaned from this small drop. Nobody can really say anything. And a lot of people are actually looking towards this 50-day average for Bitcoin. And kind of the price level to go past is around 8,500. So be on the lookout for that. If that's a pretty bullish sign. But again, really all speculation, and it's up to you guys. And I just want to put in a personal note here that there are a lot of people, YouTubers, saying, oh, we're in a bull market, or oh, we're in a bear market. And I just want to say, fuck that noise. At the end of the day, it's your money. You're investing with that money, and a bunch of different people will have different opinions, all saying different things, contradicting things, and it can be really overwhelming. And never assume that somebody knows more than you, because at the end of the day, they probably know just as much as you in terms of where the price is going to go. Unless, insider trading or something of that sort. So I guess what I want to say is just trust your own judgment, because at the end of the day, even if you're wrong, you'll feel satisfied that you thought about it, you made the decision, and then you decide to go for it. And really, what more can you do? So that side note is done, and I wanted to talk about just the markets in general. For the most part, the winners are strange currencies like Verge and Cardano. I am not particularly fond of these coins, and I think the fact that only these coins are going up, or popular. I actually don't know what Populous does, so I can't comment on that. But the fact that these top 20, top 30 coins like Verge and Cardano are going up, even though they're coins that, well, Verge, number one, is almost definitely a scam coin. If you're a Verge supporter, I'm incredibly sorry, but you're gonna get scammed, or at the very least, there's really no point to hold Verge given all that we know about them. For Cardano, a little bit more legit, but at the same time, there are so many more platform coins out there who have so much more development than Cardano and such a smaller market cap. I don't understand why anybody would actually invest in Cardano. And really, the only logical reason I can think of in my head is a bunch of uneducated people who were subjected to marketing, huge marketing by either people who bought into these coins or just internet marketing somewhere somehow, and they're just pumping up the prices because these are the people who FOMO in when the bull market is happening and immediately sell when the bear market is coming. This is kind of the uneducated money coming in, and it stands to reason that that money goes into coins like Cardano and Verge. A little surprising they're not going into Tron, I'll be honest. But across the board, you know, 2 to 5% losses. Nobody's really too down in the red, and nobody's really that much up in the green, other than, like I mentioned, Populous, Verge, and Cardano. So it's been a pretty stable time. Been pretty stable these past few days. So I'm not really anticipating a huge move, by the next week or even I guess the next month, just because I think we're due for a little bit more sideways movements. That's my personal thought. Even if the crypto markets run at an accelerated pace, it still takes time for a complete reversal into an insane bull market. I don't think we're going to be seeing huge gains anytime soon. And when I say soon, I really only do mean 2-3 months out there. But it's a good thing in my opinion. I really like these periods of consolidation just because it gives me peace of mind, really, where it's more about knowing I'm not going to lose my money than me really wanting to gain money. And I think number one, it gives you perspective. Number two, it gives you time to think about the coins that you want to invest in, because you don't want to be an impulse buyer. You don't want to be someone who hears about a coin on Reddit or on Facebook and immediately buys it after hearing only good things about it. You want to be able to do your research. You want to be able to deliberate between different coins, think about it, and then buy. And sideways movement like this gives you comfort, because if you expect sideways movement, you don't feel pressured. You don't feel that FOMO coming up. And you can even wait for a good time to buy in. So, yep, that's the markets for the past few days. And so let's get into the news. And one of the biggest pieces of news that came out today, which is Monday, April 16th, is that Coinbase just bought one of Bitcoin's best funded firms. Now, this is earn.com. So, as you guys know, Coinbase is probably the most prolific cryptocurrency exchange out there in America, and I think Europe as well. And, they make boatloads of cash. Now, everybody who buys crypto, almost everybody who buys cryptos in the Western sphere uses Coinbase and goes through Coinbase for the most part. So the fact that they're going out and buying new companies, I think, is really smart, just because this is the time to be consolidating and expanding, because the money's not going anywhere. And in times where they don't have to deal with increased users coming in, crazy amounts of demand, I think it's smart for them to use this downtime of a bear market where not too many people are signing in, customer service, things like that. They go out and buy one of these companies. Now, earn.com used to be a Bitcoin mining operation, and it was called 21 Inc. But eventually they changed focus and bought earn.com and launched this it's sort of like LinkedIn, but not really. The idea is that, if you're a business who's trying to reach people, who wants to put out surveys or get responses, a really good comparison would be Google surveys. So you can say, hey, I want to ask this question, do some market research for my business, and then Google will send it out to a bunch of people. Now, Earn.com is similar in that you can put out those questions, they'll email them to people, but the people who answer the email will get paid by their response. So, if they respond, they get paid. So it's kind of, it's a streamlined process really for something like Google surveys where you're cutting out the middleman in a sense just because there are probably lower fees and it works on the blockchain. And even ahead of that, let's just take a look at earn.com. So you can earn Bitcoin by replying to emails and completing tasks. And also there's this, I'm a little iffy on why somebody would actually use this, but I think the idea is that you have this guy, John Smith, software engineer, and you can talk to him because maybe you want to be employed by him, maybe you just want to chat with him because he's someone that's inspired you, and he makes the commitment to talk to you for $5. So it's a cool way to connect people, but at the same time, it seems a little unethical. Not unethical, more. It seems like the people who would use this software, or at least would be someone like John Smith who says, okay, you can contact me for $5. I really don't know if that's the kind of person you would want to contact. Do you really want to contact someone who wants to be paid just for contact with him? Sure, there are jobs like that for lawyers and whatnot. But at the same time, I don't really think, I don't really understand why you would need this service. But then again, Coinbase really likes it. They probably are more knowledgeable than I about what exactly they're doing. And I do think this is a really cool way to involve the community, because advertisement is a really big industry to disrupt with blockchain, and there are a lot of different paths you can go in advertising. You have the viral marketing, you have the internet marketing, you have go out and do some social marketing. There are a lot of avenues to go through, and I think this is earn.com is a really cool way to reach people and have them want to come to you. While traditional advertising right now is, let's try to get people with something cool, showing them a flashy video, maybe giving them a promoted product. But this really, cuts to shit and says, okay, we'll give you money, come to us. And at the end of the day, I think it's a good business model, just because if you can earn money just answering emails, why not? What's the point not to? And it's sharing the wealth, amongst everyone. And I think that's a good thing. Overall, I think it's a solid plan from Coinbase, even if I don't fully understand it. And I'm excited to see where they go with this, especially because of the extra publicity that they got from this acquisition. So the next piece of news is that MasterCard eyes blockchain for fighting fake identities. Now, this is both cool and scary, in my opinion. The idea is that they're going to have a blockchain that stores personal data. Now, this is a really slippery slope. If my thoughts about blockchain in a global sense, in terms of the impact that it can have on the entire world, is that it can either be used to liberate wealth, to share the wealth amongst the people in a way that only blockchain can do, or it can serve as a way to control the people. Information is no longer, there's no central points of attack. There's a way to disseminate information in an efficient way, but still be centralized by one company, whether it's MasterCard or the U.S. government, or one state. So it's iffy just because once your information is in this blockchain, it never leaves. And sure, it will never leave, your credit card that's registered to MasterCard already or to a bank. Sure, that will never leave, but at the same time, that company could go bankrupt, things could happen. And your data is just not as secure. But with blockchain, it's just there, and it can be shared with the government, and it will never leave, and it will be immutable and indestructible. It will always be there. And I think that can be a little bit scary of a prospect for a company like MasterCard or even the banks. There's a lot of rhetoric out there about, hey, we should fight the banks, be your own bank, and I actually subscribe to that a little bit. And I think something like this, while cool and would definitely make the system more efficient, can also be the turning point towards really having a black box of data that you can never change, and there will really never be such thing as a clean start anymore. That said, blockchain adoption always somewhat positive, and I'm excited to see how MasterCard goes about this. And I guess to me at least, there's a lot of legal questions surrounding what exactly can you do with the personal information. So the next piece of news is that Malta proposes tests to define when ICOs are securities. Now this is incredibly interesting, just because we're not really seeing big countries like US or China or Korea coming out and really laying down the law in terms of regulation, saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. Some countries have taken a banning approach, some countries have taken a wait and see approach. But the general consensus is regulation is coming, but there's no consensus on how they're going to regulate. And ICOs as securities is a really big point of contention. What ICOs are securities, what ICOs aren't, just because coins have such different functions and purposes that some can definitely be categorized as securities, but others definitely cannot. So Malta is coming out with different guidelines, different classifications for categorizing coins, so that you can take one coin, ask a list of questions, and then come out with an answer in a standardized way. And this is interesting because Malta is an incredibly small island off the coast of Italy, if I'm not mistaken. And although whatever they decide on probably won't be a huge deal, it does set somewhat of a precedent in the sense that when other countries are looking for solutions, they will definitely look into what Malta is doing. And even if they don't have that much influence, because they're one of the first, it will be interesting to see what's on their mind, what factors they're considering when they think of ICOs and securities, and we could maybe even use that information to look at other securities and think about how other countries are going to approach this situation. So the discussion paper was released in November 2017. It released the concept, and apparently there's a 3-stage process that basically just sees if it's a utility token, if it's a security. There aren't too many specifics about it yet, but we will see. And the idea is that the paper is currently open for public input until May 5th. And after that, I assume they're going to cut that off and really make a decision and come out with it. So this year, we really should be seeing a lot of advancements in terms of legal regulation. And although a lot of people don't like that, I do think it's absolutely necessary for cryptos to grow as a whole. So the last thing I want to talk about was just a little technical analysis. Again, I am not the best at technical analysis. I do know a little bit about it, but at the same time, I don't subscribe to it. But it is interesting to see support lines, and really that's all technical analysis is to a certain degree. Taking arbitrary dates and arbitrary points and saying, and trying to understand why they're important. Seeing patterns amongst all different graphs, the history that we can see in stocks, and coming up with somewhat of a way to predict what's going to happen next. So the idea is that if Bitcoin can break this 8,500 resistance, then that would signal a bull market. Now, again, just to say that and be done with it would be ridiculous, but I do think it's worth it to look at what other people are saying, just because technical analysis is such a big part of many traders' daily routine, looking at the charts. And I do think it's worth it to take a look at something like this. So the idea, like I said, is that the trendline hurdle is seen around $8,500. And that's because 50 days ago, we were around that same point. around 8,500. So the idea is that if we can beat that 50-day once we get there, that it'll signal a bull market. Again, I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it. You have to look at the charts in various time periods and make your own assumptions based off that. And if you listen to a bunch of different people, you get a bunch of different answers. Like I said, it's a lot of noise. Do your own research and decide for yourselves. So that was the bi-weekly recap for today. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I will be back tomorrow, 2 days from now, and if not, then I will be back for the next bi-weekly recap. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys haven't lost too much money, and please, please, please don't invest in Verge.